So I texted her because I went to Barnes & Noble, my favorite place. I'm like, oh my gosh, I just bought all these things for the Civil War. So we're constantly talking about school. That happened to be maybe at 6:30 at night, but sometimes at 10:30 she'll text me or send me a link saying, oh my gosh, I just found something. So it's constant with us. We're constantly working together. We have a good time. And we have a good time with the kids. So I'm not sure if you saw the slideshow when they first started rolling it, but we'll just show you some pictures so you can get an idea of what goes on in the classroom. By the time the kids get to 5th grade, we're trying to fine-tune their skills, so everything they've learned in the previous years, we're trying to pull it all together and get them ready for middle school. A huge thing is collaboration. How do you work together? How do you work together as a group face-to-face? How do you work together online, like through Google Docs? So we can have a couple kids working in one group and a couple kids working in another, and they could be at home, one could be in India, the other one could be here, and they're still working on projects together through Google Docs.
I actually had that happen.
Yes.
My students last year and this year were in India. And so Arnie was able to, this year, Arnie's in my class, he was able to email me some pictures, and I posted them on my wiki. So there's ways, Wikispace is like a view into your classroom, sort of like a website in a way.
We'll show you that so you can see what's going on in the class. We're very transparent. If your child comes home and you say, what'd you do today? And they say nothing, they're lying. Just go to our wiki page and you can see what they've done. Because we post constantly. My class has a Shutterfly site, so anything that shows Montgomery, then I don't want that out in the public. Our wiki, I do the best I can, so there's no sign that anybody can see that we're from Montgomery School. That way you can see what's going on free and clear. Anything that shows that we're from Montgomery School goes on our private Shutterfly site, and you can access it at any time. We've had grandparents. We have a family in India right now. They've checked in twice. I know that. I can see it on our wiki because we have a cluster map. So you can share the site with family and friends, and then everybody feels connected to your kids in the classroom. And then one set of grandparents, she emails me all the time, she's in Boca Raton, saying, oh my gosh, I saw such and such on the website, so she feels like she's at least in touch with her grandson, which is pretty cool. So we're just going to show you some pictures so you can kind of get an idea of what we do as far as activities, very hands-on, but we're also at our desks as well. But at this age, I can't sit still for longer than 20 minutes. I can't expect a child to, so we're up and we do move a lot. And this is not, I don't know how to make this thing work. So
okay.
I love technology.
Hold this for a second. Put you to work.
Got it.
It should work as a slideshow. I had one of the kids show me, because I usually use PowerPoint, but this is a Google presentation. Just push play.
Sometimes in the classroom we give kids the choice. PowerPoint has all the bells and whistles versus the Google presentation, which does not always have.
Maybe we could just do it one minute.
I was going to say, because then you can,
Yeah,
the play button.
That was my math lesson yesterday on decimal multiplication, using a place value chart and chips to get a concrete idea of that concept.
Okay, sorry for technical difficulties.
Hit pause.
I don't know how to go back through, I guess, but these are just the kids in action.
Hit pause.
This is right here, one of them in action.
There you go.
There you go.
No, it's not awesome. What does it take to turn on the slideshow? Alright, anyway, this whole activity here, this is a collaborative activity. This was really interesting. I gave the kids a recipe, and it was all discombobulated, so it was all in strips, and they had to put it in order. The interesting thing, having boys and girls together, the boys had a certain way that they wanted to organize the recipe. The girls had a different way they wanted to organize the recipe.
I'm so sorry, I can't get rid of this thing.
Okay, we'll just run it through again after it's done. But once they put the recipe in order, we laminated it, and then the kids just saw them cooking, came down, had parent volunteers, and they actually had to measure and use all their skills work together to actually make these pumpkin muffins, which was pretty cool. It was fun. Okay, so we're lost. So anyway, there's 30-something slides. We can start moving that through. But anyway, as you can see, the kids are constantly busy. They're on the go, working together. And now we're back.
Can you get rid of that? She did.
Our buddies, our kindergarten buddies.
Oh, that might be the last slide. All right. So, would you like to hear an explanation of the slides now? And then we'll go through our curriculum and then if you have any questions. Great. Okay. Mrs.
Body activities really lend itself to
Last slide. These are just some examples of interactive math. This is at the beginning of the year. We do have advanced math and we have grade level math. My class is grade level and now we're moving, this is the advanced math group. But as you can see, there's manipulatives for everything. And the thing with it, I love this. This is my favorite picture because, oh no, it's great. This another interactive thing, the Green Book is a book that the kids will be required to read over the summer, and then we just use clues from the book to create real mock people from it. Okay, this is going to keep running. There's the recipe again. All right, just speed talk. There's the children putting the recipe together. Now they have to bake. The only job of the parents was to make sure flour wasn't flying around the room. They were all on their own. This was my class baking. Rose's class is baking next Thursday.
There's a little learning center in grammar. There was a presentation about an anti-smoking campaign. There were actually pig's lungs that are used as a replica of human lungs. And the animal was deceased, so it wasn't killed for this purpose. It was deceased from the lung. That was the coolest thing of the whole.
So gross.
And the thing with this program, they bring the Blue Cross Blue Shield brings a whole van, and they set up a van for the kids to go in and in the classroom. My oldest daughter is almost 22, and she still remembers this from 5th grade, and it left a lasting imprint on her as far as the whole idea of smoking. I have twin 9th graders, and when I said we're having the smoking ban come in, they remembered it, and it left a lasting
The thing
imprint.
that Blue Cross tells us is that this age level is really the target level you want to get this health information out to, as far as smoking.
This here is our crime scene investigation. Both classes have done this, where it's all about making inferences, really, but finding clues, taking the clues, putting it together, and drawing conclusions. And this has to do with the book Fever that we read. They had no idea what all those clues meant at first, but as they started putting the pieces together, the light bulbs started going off, and they're like, oh my gosh, this represents the different characters in the book, and they were able to figure out which characters they were from the clues. So nothing, as I tell the kids, don't assume things in the book are going to come out and grab you and say, hey, here's the answer. You have to really search, and this is just one of the activities to help the kids get the idea of connecting the dots. And they are working. We usually set it up in Bell Hall. I love that picture. Another interactive group, we have different t-shirts to represent different groups working together. So the greens are working together. It's a jigsaw group. So the green group works together to find information, then they disperse, and then I'll have a yellow, a blue, a green, and then those kids share knowledge together from what they learned with their green group or yellow group. Geocaching, Mr. Klein has set up for geocaching, so we were able to go ahead and do that. The clues, there they are. All the clues led to latitude and longitude problems to work on. example of some of the technology that we use. The children blog. This happens to be our USA Map project. We had issues with clay. I made homemade clay. The lesson learned is don't make it and bring it in the next day because it's all melted. You have to make it right before you're going to use it. And that's what Eden had written about on our project.
Crisis happened in North
Yes, we did lose North Carolina. The kids pieced it all together. It was a big board that we had made with the United States map, and for some reason North Carolina didn't get laminated. Don't know what happened to it. So I said to the kids, there'll be nobody vacationing in the Outer Banks until we find it. So we ended up creating another one. Oops. This is an example of a book report blog. They're in the process of writing, doing a book report. First paragraph talks about whatever you just read. You need to retell the story, what just happened in the story, and then the second part is you have to be the character, and you need to respond as that character. This is an example to educate. Rose class, this is her class to educate. It's almost like Twitter for kids. It's all self-contained. Same thing with the kid blog. It's not open for anybody else, just our class. Although parents can get in, use a name and password, you can tweet and blog along with us if you choose, or just read what the kids are writing.
And just learning how to comment on each other's entry. The post in the white are the children's responses to a post that you really couldn't see. It's at the top. It was about the Indian Removal Act that Andrew Jackson forced on the Cherokee. So I wanted them to respond on what they thought about that after we studied it. And then they can go on and comment on each other's positively, of course. I agree, I disagree, have you thought about, things like that. And they can see, I do it in the classroom so they can see it happening. So it's a live conversation going on within the context of the social studies class or literature class.
It's an introduction to social media, but in a safe environment, and we can guide them through it. What do you write? What don't you write? And when you say, I agree, well, you need to give an explanation. So you can see how they start from the beginning of their tweets or blogging and how it just progresses and gets better and better because we get more than just I agree. We get
The visual poster, you and I did our poster on regular hard staples and we got our poster board. This is a visual poster. This is my class. We'll be doing our last book report of the year on Glogster, EduGlogster. And they have criteria that have to be contained on the poster. So they have to follow the guidelines, and there'll be a blog rubric. Are they following these things, which I go over ahead of time, and there'll be a literacy rubric where that focuses on the writing traits.
The neat thing about the blog is it's very interactive. Like Abe Lincoln there, I don't know how Becky had it set up, but if you click that, it could take you to a link of Abe Lincoln, and you can put pictures, you can put links. It's really very interactive, so it's not just a flat paper. It is interactive and it's pretty cool. And then here are our two web pages. If you ever want to visit, mine's 5k2012.wikispaces.com and Rose right behind. This is b5class.wikispaces.com. If you ever want to know what we're doing in class, you just go there. Homework's posted. Well, homework's posted online, and you use
I post mine on our
website.
site. Our wikis are different, and they're intended that way. I mean, it's up to the individual teacher how they want their wiki space to be organized. So, they're great. It's a great
Mine's
thing
more
to
like an
do.
ongoing newsletter. Yours is information, and you use your Montgomery website as well, where I don't use it. Everything on mine is on here. So, all right, that. Yep.
I'm going to talk a little bit about fifth grade responsibilities very quickly. First of all, we have a service learning opportunity, and fifth grade service learning opportunities related to the military because we study the Civil War. And so outreach this year was to write to Bravo Company in Afghanistan that we had a parent give us the information about, and it was an optimal moment. So each of the children wrote at Christmas time a letter to an individual soldier. And it was phenomenal letters from these children. And we got one letter back from a spokesperson for the whole company. Because the soldiers maybe not at liberty to write a letter back to us, but he was the spokesperson, and it was Bell Volz's letter that came back. So this was very gratifying for parents and students and all.
Plus, we had a link to actually see the soldiers.
Yes.
There was lots of pictures, and yes.
The 5th grade has flag duty. They put up the flag every day. Mrs. Kelly and I share flag duty. I usually take the first semester, Mrs. Kelly takes the second. And we have to be current on when the flag has to be flown at half-staff. Unfortunately, sometimes it does, as presently, given the Boston issue. And these children need to, they train each other. Mr. Conklin trains my class in the beginning of the year on how to put the flag out, raise and lower the flag. He also teaches them half-staff. The Montgomery flag goes up, and the Greek and Roman games, the winner's flag goes up. And then they teach each other, so then my class will teach Mrs. Kelly's students. We also have table heads. So we have a table. And if you are a table head, you have the responsibility of making sure the people at your table cooperate and follow the dining room rules. So that's another person here. And if most of the time the children will try to handle their own issues at the table, and when they find they cannot, then they seek out a teacher. Another 5th grade opportunity is the drama that Mrs. Molzette this year and Mr. Hamilton are spearheading for our 5th graders, and it's a spring drama issue. I just use this as a symbol to make you understand about the drama. And the idea is to get kids out there that would really like to showcase oratory skills and musical skills. This is the first year all 5th graders participate in play. It's elective, but this was historical this year. We had every 5th grader participate. The safety patrol duty can be bus and car safeties, and they help, they're an enormous help to the staff at dismissal. That's all I have as far as 5th grade responsibilities and being good role models and buddies.
Okay, I guess we'll go to language arts, which has 7 components. These are some of the books that we read. Let's see. Bagley's. One of the things we use are the junior grade books, and they've got great skills in here. So there are 2 junior grade books, but we can't go through every story because we have other things that we have to read as well. But any of the skills in the junior grade books, we can also transfer over into the other reading material that we choose.
And the focus being on building comprehension,
Yes.
asking questions, becoming critical thinkers, citing evidence from the text to support what we say.
The very first novel we read is Beaver, 1793. This is actually a very complex reading book. A lot of vocabulary in there, a lot of history. When we go on our field trip to American history, you have different timelines going on. It's really interesting to see the kids, even though this was 1793, where we are in history right now, we're talking about inventions of 1793, the cotton gin, and for the kids to understand, oh my gosh, there's fever going on, there's political stuff going on, and inventions going on, and pioneers moving west. It's overwhelming to think all this was going on at the same time, because typically what happens is a kid will focus on, okay, this is the only thing going on in the world right now, but when we put our timelines up, the kids can really see all the different things happening at the same time. And one of the things, I can't remember which invention off the top of my head, 1830, but that was also when the Indian Removal Act was signed, and the kids, they were just really pulling it all together the other day, like really getting all of this is happening at once, and it was really cool to see that that when the Indian Removal Act was happening, somebody else was inventing something. They were really disturbed by the Indian Removal Act, the Trail of Tears, which is actually this book here. Some of the reading material that we do, that we give the kids, you look at this and you think, well, why is this? This looks so simple. It's like a 3rd or 4th grade reading level. Well, yeah, maybe the vocabulary is, but the content inside is absolutely intense. You're talking about the Andrew Jackson era, Van Buren, the plight of the Native Americans. So even though some of the reading material that may come home you think looks easy, everything behind it is really complicated, complex, thought-provoking.
And the idea is to advocate deep thinking. That's what we want to do with kids, thinking beyond the limits of the textbook fact.
Right. Picture books, Henry's Freedom Box. This is for slavery. So picture books are even used in 5th grade. It's actually used for teaching grammar as well. There's no better place to teach grammar than through picture books, because the kids can read it in one sitting, enjoy the pictures as well, but you can see the whole plot structure of the story, and you can see how the author uses grammar. I tell the kids all the time with grammar, especially with quotation marks, it seems to be the hardest thing, is if you ever can't remember how to use grammar, just open up any book, and there's your textbook right there. It's going to show you how to use grammar. This book, we're about ready to read this one. The Most True Adventures of Homer P. Fig. It is a Civil War book. Fever had the main character was a female. This one happens to be a male. Great story for whether you're a boy or a girl. These are just some of the things that we read out of the dusk. Rose class is finishing this up. It is about the Dust Bowl, but it's written in poetry form.
And we do a little poetry unit. We try to encourage poetry through the year, but it's nice when you really focus on poetry. You take time to create poetry. You want to see authentic poetry from the kids, but first you have to create the model. You have to see the model. This is what a good poet does. This is what good poetry looks like. And that body book is good too. That poetry book gives us extensive poetry. We also use that, and it has a CD, so they can hear the language.
And then we have the grammar book. It's we call it the Gumbo, Grammar Usage and Mechanics. It has all the 5th grade skills that you need here. We don't use it page by page, but we do go through all the concepts in here. And this is our spelling book. It's actually a 6th grade level spelling book. It also has grammar in there as well, a lot of good stuff.
I felt that they need the challenge to work up. And the skills are skills that 5th graders should be learning, like prefixes, suffixes, word parts. So we're happy with that.
You know what a transverse verb is? Okay, well, your kids will learn next year. A transverse verb, if you have a direct object after it, then it's a transverse verb. And 5th graders are very proud to tell you that, so.
Very quickly, I'll do a recap of the field trips. The first field trip is to Philadelphia, and that's where hence I the Liberty Bell. And it coordinates very well with the Fever novel. And we have a costume tour guide in Colonial Garb that I've been using for years. She's fabulous and takes us on a walking tour of Philadelphia. It's very, very worthwhile, and we're trying to connect the field trip to the curriculum. The next one is to Hawk Mountain, and I'll just put a feather in here. We hope that the mountain is clear so that we can see birds. Birds of prey. Kristen's husband, Mr. Klein, takes our class with very wonderful parents who trek on up that hiking trail. Okay. I also have this in here because we go to Colonial Plantation in Ridley, and we do a lot of hands-on learning with colonial crafts, which is all background information for the Fever novel and history. The kids actually made candles. They dipped candles. That was fabulous.
Colonial style, tours.
Our final trip of the year is both celebratory in nature and a connection to curriculum. And we go to Gettysburg. And it's a fabulous trip. We have a National Park Service tour guide as well. And we can connect our learning to the battle we learned in the classroom right there, walking in Devil's Den, wherever our tour guide takes us.
And our tour guides for the Philadelphia trip and for Gettysburg have been fabulous in the sense that if the kids ask a question, they've done research. Like one of my students 2 years ago had done research on, I think the dog's name was Sophie or something. And it was a dog from one of the Pennsylvania regiments, and she knew there was a statue somewhere in the park. Well, did the tour guide take us there? So we were on our bus, and he said, "You want to see the statue? Here it is." So we drove there. So they've been really good about really answering the kids' questions and taking us right to the different places the kids want to go to. So that's been great. Social studies. guides. Roe does a different version of study guides. This is the way my kids do study guides. We do latitude and longitude.
We're frequently doing math skills because many of our concepts in social studies require that the children know the geography of what we're talking about. And then the field trips also connect that geography, especially the streets of Philadelphia.
This is our caution tape when we do our CSI. CSI a lot of times has to do with social studies. And I said to somebody the other day when they put the caution tape around the benefit things, I said, oh my gosh, my kids are going to probably think, our kids are going to think that it's some CSI investigation. But whenever the kids see this is up, they know, oh my gosh, we're going to have some kind of investigation. Some of the themes, Lewis and Clark, again, the reading does not look that difficult, but all the information behind it is jam-packed, good stuff. Time for Kids, we use that. Kids Discover, these are great magazines. It's all about taking your resources, pulling it all together to learn. I tell my class that I love our social studies book because I hate it. It's great because it's great chronological, gives you a whole skeleton outline of American history, but you need all of these things to fill in details. And they know now that when they are reading to ask questions, for example, War of 1812, Dollar Madison supposedly saved a bunch of documents from the burning White House. And I said to the kids, well, what questions should you be asking? And they're like, well, what documents? Yeah, I don't know what documents. So the iPads quickly look it up, and they really weren't documents. It was just a portrait of George Washington. So this is the kind of stuff that we bring into the classroom all the time. I love the textbook because it doesn't give all the information. It forces the kids to go to outside places to fill in the details, and that's what makes learning fun. So you have a map.
This is, of course, you know, it's the Singapore map that we're using, and it's the first year for 3 to 5 using the Singapore map. And Denise teaches, we both teach 5th grade Singapore math, and I do the enrichment piece. So if your child has an aptitude for math, then perhaps their 4th grade teacher will recommend them and group them accordingly. So we're both teaching the 5th grade Singapore math, and I'm doing the enrichment. Part of the philosophy is using concrete objects to get the concept. And you saw in the video, PowerPoint presentation, that one of the kids was using the place value chips. So yesterday's lesson was on decimals, so I had to show them about how to multiply decimals. So this is one thing that we would use. We also have thousands and hundreds and tenths to show that decimal. We also have flashcards which we can teach fluency. For example, one thing I do go around the moment with the flashcards, and the kids have to say the decimal, and then I will say, what's 1 more thousandth than this? For 206,000. What's 2 more thousandths than this? So not only reading the decimal, they're thinking up, and then trying to develop fluency. We also have math sprints, which are something like math minutes, but their intention is to create long-lasting math connections. So we do those twice a week. They can be done more frequently, but we have an ambitious curriculum this first year, so we need to introduce the math sprints to them, and it's to build competitiveness amongst for themselves, setting goals for themselves, and it also gets them excited about math. So we stand up, we say, ready, and mark, and set, go! And they give them 1 minute, and then we stand up, and we all check, and then I go through and we'll say, I'll say 10, yes, and they'll answer accordingly to the answer. So it's just very invigorating. It's different than the traditional math minutes, which I've used for 12 years, which I also use with my group as well. And we had a big math minute celebration, and it was fun. This is there's 2 texts for 5th grade, as there are for 4th grade and 3rd grade. And then there's 2 workbooks. And the beauty of this program is that we can tailor the needs. We have a reteach, we have extra practice, we have enrichment. So that's fabulous to have that. And you know what happened to my Marcy Cook, but I also use Marcy Cook materials, and they are logical reasoning activities that I have set up for my group as well. So we're finding that it's a learning process this year, the Singapore math, but it's enriching. And we're striving for deeper learning so that the kids are learning the why, not just the answer, but the process.
I think we've gone through all our bags. Oh, no, what do you have here? Oh, no. This here. Sorry. These are some examples of children's writing. This was a book report, and it happened to be in the newspaper format. And again, as Roman said earlier, there's rubrics. So the kids know exactly what they need to include. Then there's a whole level of, okay, bring in the rest of your creativity with it. These are the things I'm looking for. I chose this one because this little girl here was so concerned that she wasn't using digital pictures that she drew it, and I said, I love you drawing things. So it doesn't matter whether you put a digital picture, draw it yourself. And then these are some examples of published books that kids have done in the past. We're in the process of finishing up ours now for Grandparents' Day. So these are just some books. The writing traits, we do the 6 traits of writing. And this here is a folder, so you have your ideas, your organization, voice, word choice, sentence fluency, conventions, presentation, all of it's here, and the kids have their folders with all their 6 traits information. We also have a daily 6-trait writing, so we can pick and choose different activities in here to give to the kids to make sure that they're getting the 6 traits. Sometimes we use this and tailor it to just create our own idea from this. Again, this is just a picture book, Chrysanthemum. I love this book, I'm using it in 5th grade, but it's perfect to show the kids how plot structure works and how you have your setting and your characters, which is called an exposition, so they love using that word, and your rising action, climax, falling action, resolution. So when they write their own stories, they can use this as well. So they can put all their characters in setting, and what's the main point of your story you want to get across, they can put up here, and then it helps them build their story. But if they have it using picture books, they can really understand how to put it all together. Plus, this is got good grammar in it as well. Writing prompts, Row uses these are awesome. They have a lot of great writing prompts. So if you're doing daily writing, this is some choices you can start the story with if you choose.
Well, that's it in a nutshell. We could go on and on, of course, but we'd like to address any questions that you may have. Or maybe it's like all this information and you go away and you think, I don't know if I have that question. You can always email us.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
I was just going to say, is Read like a summer reading book?
Yeah, the green book is the summer reading.
Those lists will be coming out.
It's a science fiction. It's an easy read, but boy, it's got a lot of good stuff in it. Great for the imagination.
You can get that on a Kindle, or the children could have that option if they like the electronic option.
Yes.
Would you say that homework workload is like time-wise or?
It kind of depends. Like right now, it's not as heavy because the kids have their play practice until 4:15, and then some of those kids go off to CCD, then they go off to baseball games. And we give homework to make sure that they can plan, use it. Time management is what I guess I'm looking for when they get home, and they can manage their time. But we also take into consideration of all the after-school activities that go on as well. But they'll have math every night, usually math and spelling, social studies, a couple nights a week.
I think that we're also trying to get them to do be a little bit more middle schoolish. So we'll say, oh, this is due in 2 days from now. So you have tonight to do this much, and tomorrow night to do that much. But if you have more time tonight, then you get the whole thing done. If you have, but that's up to the families too to help out with that. We feel that we can present it to the kids. This is like a learning phase for them. They don't have this down pat. Not everyone does. And so we're just training them to think up a little bit and plan.
We have a project planning guide too. It's up on my wiki. Row has it, but I just keep it up on my wiki all year long. And it has every day of the week, and it has time slots from 7 to 8, 7:30 in the morning, 8 to 8:30 in the morning. And what the kids do is they will block out the time they're in school. Then they color in the areas where they have a ball game on this particular day and that particular day. It's just a weekly planning guide. That way, they can visually see, oh gosh, I really have a lot to do on Tuesday, but not so much on Wednesday. So if something's due on Friday, I think I'll spend Wednesday doing it and just not worry about it Tuesday. So it's a weekly planner to help them. We go through it at the beginning of the year, but it's up there all year long, and then from then on, it's really up to the family to decide whether they're going to use it or not. It's a great hands-on visual way for the kids to see what their week looks like.
Do they start having weekend homework?
Some, not a lot. I mean, we want them to get used to the idea of having it for middle school, but they're still in lower school, so we don't want to bombard them, but they will have it.
What's the spelling process? You get the words on Monday, test on Friday. Is there a to-list? How does that work?
It probably varies. In my class, they had their spelling test today. Tomorrow, they'll get a pre-test, and then their test will be the following Friday. So they have 1 week to prepare. If I give the pre-test on a Monday, then it's the following Monday. I always give them a weekend to study because I know how busy they are. And we do follow the book as far as the spelling skills. We're on ION words right now, and there's definitely a pattern that they have to learn. So that's how my spelling works.
Yeah, I do weekly. I assign Monday, I test Friday. If it's a short week, I'll have the option of saying there's no test this week, but we're still going to do the exercises. So I have to make a judgment call on the schedule and what's happening in the school. I have one list. Occasionally, I might add some social studies vocab in there that I think they should be knowledgeable of.
Just one more thing, talking about the leadership opportunities in 5th grade. I'm sure that some of your kids have come home this year and said they've had a chance to do Mommy and Me in 4th grade. That continues on in 5th grade. And we're finding, 5th graders are just the Mommy and Me. 4th and 5th grade do it so nicely. So they will have a chance to do more of that next year if they enjoyed it this year. And for those of you who don't know what Mommy and Me is, we actually have families that come in from outside of our community, or from our Montgomery community. They bring their kids, and our students read one-on-one with them, do some projects with them, take them out on the playground. And we found that it's just been fantastic for our 4th and 5th graders, and also for families who have not had any exposure to Montgomery and have found out about us through moms groups and things like that. It's a great chance for them to get on campus, meet our teachers, meet our kids, and a great 5th grade leadership project for our students.
They love it. They'll come back and say, "I have the cutest little kid," and they would just talk about it.
They're so good at it because they haven't hit that middle school self-conscious, I'm kind of too cool for this thing yet. They still just really want to play. And it's just been a fantastic partnership.
Well, they're practicing their own literacy at the same time, reading stories to other people. So they're practicing fluency, expression, intonation. So it benefits them. They just don't know that. They think they benefit just a little.
And if your students come home and say, "Oh, I'm nervous about reading to a little kid or anything like that," we always tell them the parents and the kids are very forgiving. You skip a word, not a big deal. But if they want to practice reading to their little brothers and sisters, or the pets, or the mirror, or anything like that, just grab an old picture book and read it out loud.
I just want to make a plug for read alouds. Your child is never too old to be read to, and you can continue reading to your child well into high school. I mean, my son had some selection in some literature course in high school that he could not get the accent. So once I put in the accent and reading, he was able to understand the language. So whatever spare moment you have, and you're very busy, and I understand that, it's okay to continue reading to your children well into adolescence. And buddy reading is terrific. You read a paragraph, they read a paragraph. You read a page, they read a page. They can read silently while you read it out loud. There's many ways to do that, but literacy can go on indefinitely as far as reading aloud.
One other quick question. I saw French list. So did they stop taking Spanish?
Yes. I'm so glad you asked that. Yes.
It's Spanish in 4th
Yeah.
grade, French in 5th grade, and then they decide what they want to do for 6th grade.
Right. So Liz McGinnis is our middle school French teacher. So she teaches the 5th grade and really connecting to, oh, do you remember this word in Spanish? Look at the similarities in the French language. So suddenly they're making those connections too. And then we want them to go into middle school with that informed choice of, well, I liked French, but I had Spanish too. Which one do I want to really have for my studies in middle school?
In our language program, it's served my children well. My kids, well, my oldest went through Bishop Shanahan. She tested into French 3, but they wouldn't put her in French 3 because she would have been a freshman or junior, so they put her in French 2. And then my twins, as 9th graders, were put in Spanish 2. And today, on the way to school, they were studying for a Spanish quiz, and my one said, oh my gosh, I'm finally learning something new. So that's Spanish 2. And it's Shanahan. I don't know about the other schools, but I mean, so we're in April, and now they're learning new skills because they've already had it all through middle school.
Right.
So I thought that was kind of interesting.
They do get into the level too. Both Laura Carabell, who the kids have this year, and Liz went and visited all these schools, the Hill School, Westtown, saying, what do you need to get into these levels? So they wanted to prepare our kids to be in that challenging,
Done a great job.
foreign language group.
Just curious, does Singapore math is in 6th grade now? I mean, you keep saying third, it's the first couple of years from 3rd to 5th.
Right.
It's already in 6th?
No, we actually don't do it in middle school, so it's just a lower school thing. Lynn Vesey is our math department chair, and she and Megan Palovich, who were here previously for years. Last year we started in the whole pre-K through 2nd. This year the rollout has been in 3rd through 5th. And Lynn we really labored over that decision. Do we want to do it in middle school? And really our secondary schools, they're looking for the pre-algebra, the algebra. They want to know that the kids have had that. So what Lynn and Linda are both doing are incorporating things that the kids are doing in Singapore math, like the bar modeling, and they see that as a wonderful strategy for the kids to really still be on the top of their game. They're doing algebra now in 2nd grade. So Lynn can't wait for this group to come in and really take off with using the methods, but still using the textbooks of. There is, it does actually, but the secondary, we worry about our applications getting into these next schools where they really want to see, have they had Algebra 1, have they had Algebra 2? So more of placement reasons that we're continuing on with the traditional methods, if you will, but still benefiting from the strategies of Singapore math. So both Linda and Lynn are trained as well and can incorporate that into their studies. And we're finding that with the schools that are using Singapore math, it's more just an elementary level program. So
That's where your skill building is.
right.
So if the deeper learning is coming out in those formative years, they're going to have a really good basis to handle the rigors of middle school math.
Right.
So that, and also the bar modeling strategies are another tool within their strategy box that they can use to solve problems. Some kids are really visual learners, and the bar modeling tool really helps them map out a word problem. So it's helpful, even though they may not be going into the exact program in middle school.
I think the bar modeling, though, is like the most fabulous component of this program. If you see some of the word problems, even in the 5th grade book, you'll look at it and go, are you kidding me? Like, how do you solve this? But once you start bar modeling it, then it all makes sense. I mean, it might say, what is 1/3 or 1/5 of 2/8? I mean, these complex problems that you think, where do I even begin? But the kids are trained to break it down and draw a bar model, and it's easy once you do that.
So it'll be a little easier next year because 4th grade will have had the initial introduction of Singapore, and we won't have to do as much preparation that we have to do this year for the 5th graders who haven't had the first year run through.
I think we've all already seen it a little bit this year in 4th grade with some of those word problems that have come home. But you're right, the bar modeling makes all the difference. They're kids in general, this is how you do it.
Thank you very much.